Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, judges. I am Dr. Shaishav Shah. I'll be presenting on learning curve to biportal endoscopic spine surgery. So I have no disclosures to make. This study was made basically to know the learning curve and expertise required for a single level decompression or discectomy with biportal endoscopy. The inclusion criteria in this study was patients with radiculopathy for more than 4 weeks, single level lumbar disc herniation or lumbar canal stenosis, minimal follow-up of 6 months. And the exclusion criteria included more than one level of compression, instability, or a revision spine surgery. This was a prospective study. It included 100 patients. And in this study, we tried to divide the surgery into 3 halves. First was triangulation technique. The second was bony work. And finally, the decompression part of the surgery. The outcome tools were measured with VAS back pain, VAS leg pain, modified McNabb criteria, and the complication rate. And the perioperative outcomes were measured with operative time, which were included with 3 phases, as I mentioned, and the length of the hospital stay. This is just a small video to show the surgical steps of in this technique. This was an alpha S1 disc herniation. First, the triangulation is made. The portals are created over the lower edge of the upper lamina and mediolaterally on the spinal laminar junction. Once that is done, the drilling is started at the spinal laminar junction. The concepts and the principles are the same as we do in any interlaminar surgery. We see the edge of the flavum, we detach the flavum as much as possible, and we do a flavectomy. With this technique, we can do bilateral flavectomy, bilateral foraminotomy. And this is a case of discectomy, so we'll be doing a discectomy in this case. We retract the traversing nerve root, and we do a discectomy. So, in this study, there were 100 cases, out of which 53 were lumbar disc herniation, 45 were lumbar canal stenosis, 1 was discal cyst, and 1 was fascial cyst. The average operating time was around 115 minutes. In initial cases took a little longer, but after the 30 cases, it was near around the average time. It still comes down on the time, but after the 30 cases, it is near around the average time, considering 100 cases. Mean hospital stay was 3 days, and the follow-up duration was 6 months. So the clinical outcomes were measured with back VAS, leg VAS, and modified McNabb criteria. I had 81% of satisfaction rate, and there was a statistical significance on leg pain and back VAS. I had 8 complications, which included 2 dural tears. And the first one, I actually opened it up and converted it into an open surgery. I tried to stitch it, but eventually, retrospectively, I thought I might have got away without a repair. It was a small tear, but it was visibly under endoscopic view, it felt to be a big tear. So for the second case, I did not repair it. I just kept the dural patch there. I had 4 recurrent disc herniations and 2 incomplete decompressions. I did post-operative MRI for initial 10 cases, and then if the patient had any symptomatic problems, then I did the MRI. I just did the MRI for initial 10 cases. After that, I did not do the MRI. So this is the surgical timeline for complications of my during the 100 cases. The first around 30 cases, I had major things like 2 dural tears, 2 incomplete decompression. The second case, which I mentioned first, is I was doing a routine post-operative MRI. Patient was asymptomatic, but MRI depicted inadequate decompression. But the 16th case was symptomatic, and I did a post-operative MRI, and the patient unfortunately did not come back to me, but the patient had an incomplete decompression. I had more recurrent disc herniations once I crossed my 30 cases of this thing. Then I had an era of more recurrent disc herniations. I'm still figuring out why did I have that, but presently I'm better off now. Considering the operative time, after the 50 cases, it was around the average operative time. If I see the last 30 cases, it was almost at 1.5 hours a level. So this is for 55-year-old male, with L4, L5 lumbar canal stenosis with the preoperative and postoperative MRI. This is the second case of 20-year-old male, right lower limb radiculopathy, right lower limb weakness, SLR positive. The patient has L3, L4 right-sided discal cyst. And this is the intraoperative image. And to support with the literature, there is a study of 3 different techniques of endoscopic discectomy done by Dr. Choi and team. The other one is by Dr. Kim and team. This was a technique compared with microdiscectomy with biportal technique. My results were almost near around, might be little less, but almost near around these techniques results, these literature's results. The drawback of this study is it is a single surgeon study. I did these surgeries at multiple centers, so the operative time, the staff was not that accustomed, so the time and outcomes might vary. And there is no comparison with other other types of surgeries, other minimally invasive surgeries. So to conclude, the complication rate came down after 25th or 30th surgery, was almost plateaued after 50th surgery. Average time for single level surgery was almost constant after 70th surgery. The major difference in operative, this was the thing which I saw is the major time difference was in triangulation. I divided the surgery in 3 halves: triangulation, bony work, and decompression. The bony work and decompression was almost near around the same. The difference that made in time with the learning curve was in triangulation, the starting of the main work. The overall clinical outcome and complication rates were acceptable with the comparison with other minimally invasive surgeries in literature, as I mentioned. Thank you. So this is just to show. Actually, I had an era of complications. I doubted myself, but I persisted and I got the results later on. Thank you.